sure that we get it. Default. Is this it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Can we be heard? Do y'all hear us?
Can we be heard? That is the question.
Make sure that all can hear us. And once we know that we can be heard, we will begin.
Yep. Alright, we're good.
We're good? Okay.
We Gucci.
Hello, everybody. Raven Knight here, along with my brother, Leggett Lark.
Privyet.
We are here today because funny story. Well, actually, before we get into the funny story, let's check this poll. Lovely little poll here. Let's end it. Let's see if y'all got it right.
I think.
Yes, 51% of you got it right. My favorite Space Marine chapter is the Dark Angels. 26% of you said the Raven Guard. Not a bad choice. I do like the Raven Guard. 12% said the Space Wolves. I'm so sorry. And the Salamanders got a 9%.
Great barbecues.
Great barbecues, but no, they are not my favorite.
For more details, we actually have a video on that.
Yeah, we actually have a great video. Go check it out. It's me ranking the Space Marine Legions. Loyalists. I'm still working on the Chaos one. That should come out later this month, I hope. But anyway, welcome everybody. We are here to tackle a very, very bad video today. Like, this video is something special to behold. Like, this is one of the worst videos I've seen in a very, very long time. The video is called The Problem with Warhammer 40K by Adam something. Now, here's the thing that baffled me about this. I was sent this video on Discord by someone asking if I would respond to it. And what I did not know was two things. Number one, Adam something has 1.29 million subscribers. This is no small turkey. This guy has a large follower base. Like, we are a fraction of his size, guys, and shrinking, unfortunately. I've lost quite a few subscribers lately, but that's neither here nor there. But also, if you look at his like to dislike ratio, his video has 26,000 likes and 14,000 dislikes. Now, granted, that is still a significant dislike number. That's almost half. But to be fair, that's still a very high like ratio, which baffles me because after listening to the video,
it's about a third.
It's terrible. This video is possibly the worst 40K video I have ever seen. One of the worst I've ever seen. What do you like, Lark? You haven't watched it yet. I've watched it. You're coming into this fresh.
Well, I mean, the thumbnail really tells me all I need to know.
Yeah, the thumbnail is pretty stinking bad. And the video is even worse. So what we're going to do today is we're going to watch this together and just enjoy how despicably bad this video is. So this is a 22-minute long video, so we probably shouldn't waste too much time.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Let's go ahead and jump into it. So we're going to switch over. Give us just a minute to adjust the audio. So one moment, folks.
But a moment, gentlemen and ladies.
Let me go ahead and switch it over. Because remember, I got to connect it here too. It seems it's doing it 2 times. Okay.
Oh, well, I don't think that messes it up.
Let me delete it. Okay, can y'all hear us? Double check, make sure that we're here.
I think we're still good. Yeah, we're good.
As long as there's not an echo, that was my big concern.
Yep.
Make sure you can hear us now that I've taken that out. Make sure that we're all good.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. All right. Okay. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time and get right into it. So this is the video. Let's go ahead and go to full screen. We're going to mute that, right? Okay. Yep. Before we mute it, guys, just so you guys know how this is working, we're using a different microphone, a microphone that can mute, so that way y'all don't get an echo when this is playing, okay? All right, so if we go silent, that's why. All right, here we go.
Warhammer is a universe where people fight wars using hammers. Warhammer is a universe where people fight wars using hammers. Okay, not really. Warhammer 40k is a massive, bombastic universe in the grimdark future of the 40th millennium where humanity is fighting wars on an epic scale on multiple fronts against all sorts of horrors. Space orcs, space elves, literal demons from hell, humans corrupted by literal demons from hell, the Zerg, and also the Tau. Warhammer got its start as a tabletop game, and at the core it still is. Imagine chess but more complex, where two players bring out their hand-painted armies of miniatures and battle it out on a large board. It's a cool experience at game stores or game bars where you get to meet people, socialize, and show off your cool miniatures. Today, however, the Warhammer IP has already outgrown its tabletop niche and now includes ultra-popular AAA game titles such as the latest Space Marine 2 with more than 2 million copies sold worldwide. But the Warhammer IP has not been without its controversies. We now have gamer-gators accusing the parent company Games Workshop of turning the game woke by introducing into it the most absurd creatures of all. Women. No, wait, it's actually
Okay, looks like it's reading us now.
All right, that's weird.
Can y'all hear us? Can y'all hear us okay now? Check.
Yeah, all right, go ahead, pull it back up, pull it back up. All right, let's see. Problem is there's such a significant lag.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Not your fault.
I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, looks like it's reading us now.
Okay, we're good. Sorry about that.
We don't know what happened. Like, the microphone just died. Like, it just quit on us. We had to fix it up. That was weird. That was very weird. Okay.
Didn't think hitting the mute button would cause it to freak out.
Well, let's test that again before we go any further. So,
Yeah.
mute.
It should.
Turn it back on.
And now it seems to be working again. That's... I
don't even know. I don't even know. Okay, weird. So anyway, what we were saying was the big issue here is they're complaining, they're whining about they're whining that this person is whining that there are people. We'll rewind it just a little bit to let him say it again. Mute it. Hold on, guys. We're having more technical issues. This is turning into a nightmare. Well, that's part of the problem.
There we go.
But now, since we've done that...
Yeah, we're still doing good there.
Okay.
Creators accusing the parent company, Games Workshop, of turning the game woke by introducing into it the most absurd creatures of all. Women. No, wait.
Technical issues. Sorry about that. I know that we're having a lot of technical issues. It's been kind of weird. We think we've got it figured out now. Okay, so the argument here, if y'all couldn't tell, is that people were upset by females being added to the Custodes faction of Warhammer 40k, and as Lark pointed out before our audio went dead, it is silly to complain like, you don't want females in 40k, when we already have existing females in 40k, the Sisters of Battle. So, I don't understand why this is a serious issue for this guy that we think this way.
Yeah, just...
What? What is it?
Oh, nothing, just...
Oh, I thought you were still having
that argument is annoying.
Anyway, let's mute it and keep going.
It's actually even more ridiculous. Gamergaters are mad that Games Workshop changed the lore of one of the factions that no one plays or cares about.
There are trucks that...
Okay, so sorry about that. It literally played an ad right at the point that he said that.
Yeah,
we're getting through the ad, but we're going to talk about what he just said there. That was this right here. So what he just said, for those who missed it, he said that they changed an aspect of a faction that no one plays or cares about.
It's just funny, because he was, if you roll back earlier, when he was showing thumbnails of people being upset, one of them actually multiple of them had pictures of Henry Cavill, which is funny because Henry Cavill is basically the current patron saint of Warhammer 40k, and the army he plays, Custodes.
Yeah,
and he was very much upset with the change, so much so that it caused him to back out, and basically ruin the chance of us getting any form of 40k show from Amazon because he didn't like that Games Workshop was being forced to bend the knee.
And besides, you know what? Here's what I find so funny about that. His argument is they're changing something about a faction that no one plays or cares about. He's obviously wrong about that. Shows that he knows nothing about it. But here's the best part. Let's pretend he's right. It's a faction that not a lot of people care about. Okay. Why should that be relevant? It's still an aspect of the lore. It's still a piece of lore that has been written. Just because not as many people are as interested in it does not change. It would be like changing the Leagues of Votann. Frankly, the Leagues of Votann need more lore right now because we know so little about them. But if you change something already intrinsic that we know about them, it's like, get consistent, But this whole argument just feels flat out stupid. And it also shows that he doesn't understand the player base or the community. I have Custodes models. I like the Custodes. But I get, and here's another part that I find so funny. I just thought of this. This literally just came to me. If the argument is no one plays or cares about them, then why are you excited that they added women to it? Are you saying that adding women will bring more attention to it? Because that's the only two ways this goes. Either A, you think adding women will bring more attention to it, meaning that you think women will save the faction. It won't. Or two, what's it matter? We're just going to play with it because no one cares about it. Well, then why are you making a big deal about it? Just say no one cares. So, yeah. Anyway, shall we?
Let's continue.
By saying that some of its soldiers can be women. If you want to, it's you assembling the miniatures. You can decide what head you put on them. And this resulted in a global outrage among people who have never touched a Warhammer miniature, or a woman. That's it, Games Workshop.
So what he just said was this caused global outrage to thousands of people who have never touched a miniature or a woman. Okay, so...
Again, Henry Cavill.
And
proven to have done both.
And number two, I don't know what to call that. I don't know whether to call that ad hominem or projection. Because, wow, that was harsh.
Yeah, and I've also seen in his comment section, some people point out, why are you shaming people that, are virgins? Why are you
Yeah, you're straight up shaming virgins. You're shaming people who haven't touched women.
So you're okay with people touching women now?
That's... Wow.
But still, that being said, it's very much a juvenile thing. You're just basically degrading their complaints. It's like, hey, you're changing lore for no reason. We don't like the way you're doing it. It's like, I guess you don't get laid. The frick? It's like, two, it's like, one, You're claiming that they're not nerdy enough because they don't buy the Warhammer minis.
But claiming that they're not non-nerdy enough because they don't touch women. It's like...
It's like you imagine like the people that complain about Warhammer, complain about the changing stuff in Warhammer, aren't interested in Warhammer at all. And yet, I think as we go throughout this video, we're going to show you actually know very little about Warhammer.
Let's see how much he knows about Warhammer. Let's see how much he knows. All right, we're continuing. Continuing.
I could suspend my disbelief for space orcs, space elves, and hell in space run by space demons, but women? If women are real, how come I never touched one? On the other
okay, so it was projection. I know, I get that it's a joke. I get that it's a joke, but he's speaking for us. He's mocking us, the fan base. Let me be real about something for a second. The Sisters of Battle, the Sisters of Silence, the Officio Assassinorum, Saint Celestine, these are just a few examples of women in the lore that not only are we okay with, we love. I have a Sisters of Battle mini set, okay? I love the Sisters of Battle. They are freaking awesome.
Celestine's a G.
Celestine's my favorite character. But my point being, we like women in the setting. We like women being in Warhammer 40k. The problem we have is when you try to force women into a place they have not been previously, and when asked why do this, their response is to hand wave that away as saying they've always been there, when we know that's not true.
Yes,
that's the issue.
It's a clear retcon, and the thing is, like, it's not that we can't suspend our disbelief. Listen, nothing about Warhammer 40k is believable.
Exactly.
The space orcs, the demons, all that's not believable. It's a ridiculous setting.
Yeah.
That being said, this would be the equivalent of saying, oh, by the way, the space elves, the Eldar, guess what? Now they can just recruit orcs.
Yeah.
Like no, not like, oh, they hired orc mercenaries. I mean, you can have an orc with an Eldar soul now. You can just do that. Like, orcs have always been Eldar. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's the rough equivalent.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's keep going. I can tell he's making a joke. It wasn't very funny. Let's go.
And opposite to the Gamergators, we have an increasing number of voices saying that Warhammer 40k is starting to become problematic by turning from a satire of fascism into a celebration of it, especially with the latest Space Marine 2 game. Gamergators counter this by accusing such critics of overreaction. It's just a game, you're taking it way too seriously, nobody wants to be a literal space Nazi, you guys need to chill the fuck out, they say. So what's going on here? Do Gamergators have a point? Is Warhammer turning woke? Or are they critics?
I want to pause here and just point out that he keeps referring to these people as Gamergators. He's referring to people who say, stop taking it so seriously, it's not fascist, and referring to them as Gamergators. So he's already revealed his opinion without even answering the question by already using an ad hominem to describe his opposition. He's not saying, do these people who love the game have a point saying that it's not fascist, or do the people who are calling it fascist have a point? Instead, he's saying, do these Gamergators? He's very clearly using the term Gamergator in this time and era when Gamergate is such a thing of the past, it's archaic.
He also doesn't seem to know what Gamergate was about.
Yeah, he doesn't, but regardless of that point, do these Gamergators have a point? You're already revealing your hand way too early. This is pretty bad.
And if I may add,
go ahead and add.
The dismissal of the things like oh, just shut up, it's just a game. Like no one's actually wants to be a space Nazi. I'm like, well, yes, that is the thing. Nobody wants to do that. And what's interesting is, if you look and play Space Marine 2, you'll note there are no space Nazis.
But the problem is, he's going to explain in this video, Lark. Like I said, Lark hasn't seen this. I've seen it. Lark, he's going to explain how the Space Marines and Space Marine 2 are space Nazis. And he will give a very concise, rational explanation that may baffle you.
I am prepared to be baffled.
You are prepared to be baffled?
I am.
Let us get baffled.
It's correct here, and Warhammer is indeed turning into a celebration of fascism. To answer this question, we need to talk about Starship Troopers, the subject of much online discussion as of late. Now, please...
You know, when I'm asked a question about Warhammer 40k, I don't normally say to answer that question we need to go to Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Why can't you answer the question using the material itself?
And why is it? Why can't we ever talk about the book Starship Troopers and not the movie?
Oh, he'll bring up the book.
Oh, heavens. I can't wait to hear how he misinterprets it.
Yeah, but I do feel the need to point this out because it's a very simple discussion. The question is Warhammer 40k fascist? Let's narrow that down even more. Is Space Marine 2 the game fascist? You should be able to answer that using the game itself or the lore itself. Instead, you ran to Starship Troopers. I know why you ran to Starship Troopers, because you're trying to project the ideals of Starship Troopers and the message of the Starship Troopers onto Warhammer when they are two different things. They are similar in certain aspects.
Certainly
but they are
the Cadians were inspired by the movie.
Exactly. But this is not an equivalency. So let's hear how far he goes.
Please hold that thought for a moment and let me pay some bills. You might have noticed that the world
This is where he does his show. We're gonna skip it. We're not giving him money. We're not giving him money.
Before checking out Delete Me. Starship Troopers is in many ways the predecessor of Warhammer, being one of the trailblazers of hard science fiction. Its setting is also similar to Warhammer's. We have a sort of central...
Lark had something you wanted to say.
Warhammer 40k is hard science fiction now. Warp travel is hard science fiction. Cornate berserkers
are hard science fiction. Psychers are hard science fiction.
Wow. What scientific research is It's science fantasy.
I remember all the Thousand Sons who are masters of the sciences.
No, to be fair, that is exactly what they claim as they because they are of the chaos god of Cope, totally according to plan.
He will magically levitate something and go, this is science.
What was that guy? I think it was like Trader Jim. Like he had a great video on that.
All right, back to it. Sorry, had to laugh at that. Moving on.
The militaristic human empire called the Terran Federation, battling it out with various alien species, including giant space bugs. Much like Warhammer, Starship Troopers grew out of an original niche IP. With Warhammer 40k, it was the tabletop game. With Starship Troopers, it was a book which later got adapted into series, movies, and games, making the IP transition from niche to the relative mainstream. Now, tabletop Warhammer is very different from video game Warhammer, Space Marine 2 in particular. And in the same way, there is a big difference between Starship Troopers, the book, and Starship Troopers, the movie. The 1997 movie, which was at the center of that god-awful discourse. The Starship Troopers book is rather jingoistic. Some people called it fascist literature, but I don't really agree with that label. The book is militaristic, obsessed with toughness and masculinity, heroism and honor, but it's otherwise not covert fascist propaganda or anything. It was written by a former soldier at the height of the Red Scare and McCarthyism in the 1950s. So as far as I can see, Starship Troopers is really a product of its time. It's still very right-wing, idolizes the military. In fact, in that world, the only way to gain full rights as a citizen is through military service and so on. But is it fascist? No, it's just 1950s right-wing and jingoistic. Imagine a sci-fi universe created by an ex-military...
Oh my gosh. I'm so surprised he didn't call it fascist.
I know, I was surprised too.
I have had college professors tell me it is basically benevolent fascism. I am surprised that he's looking at Warhammer 40k, calling it fascist, but then looks at Starship Troopers, the book, and doesn't. That genuinely surprises me.
Well, this Lark is what we call having nuance and rationality and being able to look at something and analyze it in a mature and respectful way. Being able to pay attention to details and treat everything with a fair degree of fairness. Don't get used to him doing that.
Okay.
In fact, I would argue that this is the only time in the entire video he will actually do that.
Oh, it's all downhill from here?
It is all downhill from here. This is probably this is the highlight of the video. This is the high point.
And we were about to inform him that this part of the video was a non-scoring round.
Welcome to Raven and Lark. Well, the points don't matter.
Drew Carey's going to find me.
If anyone gets that joke, you're awesome. Moving on.
Very right-wing, idolizes the military. In fact, in that world, the only way to gain full rights as a citizen is through military service and so on. But is it fascist? No, it's just 1950s right-wing and jingoistic. Imagine a sci-fi universe created by an ex-military boomer who has a Clint Eastwood profile picture on Facebook and who can't shut up about how back in his day, everyone worked 26-hour workdays, 10 days a week, and no one complained, as opposed to the weak and entitled generation today. Military service should be compulsory to teach these soy latte drinking weaklings some discipline. But in person, the guy is nice to you and always offers you beer when you come over. That's the authorial context of the Starship Troopers book, basically. Now, keep in mind, while the book itself isn't fascistic, the Terran Federation in it kind of is. And the values of the...
Yeah, I told you. I told you. I told you.
The the book isn't fascistic, but the Terran Federation, of which the entire book is basically a political manifesto, is. What? You just contradicted yourself. Okay, the book isn't fascist, but everything in it is. I guess in the context of, yes, the paper isn't. I guess that's how he was judging it.
What he's arguing is that the book wasn't trying to teach or encourage fascism, but the primary people within it are. That's what he's saying. He's saying that while the book is not a endorsement of fascism, the government within it is fascist.
So a political manifesto, which is pushing forward this political idea, is fascist, but the political manifesto itself isn't fascist.
Yeah. Again, it's, like I said, that earlier point was the high point.
He should have ended the video there.
He should have ended the video there. Should have ended the video there. Moving on.
1997 Starship Troopers movie are in many ways the opposite of the books. The director, Paul Verhoeven, grew up during the Nazi occupation of the Netherlands and didn't really like fascist, hyper-militaristic ideologies for obvious reasons. So he proceeded to subvert our expectations. Not with medieval anti-air railguns firing tungsten rounds at Mach 5, but by turning the Terran Federation, the Starship Troopers, into a satire of jingoism and fascism. While the book depicts the Terran Federation's campaign against the bugs as a heroic struggle, the movie portrays it as a hopeless war started on false pretenses, fought by a bunch of propaganda-addled macho idiots marching into certain death, where instead of heroic acts, glorious sacrifices, and cinematic last stands, you just get torn apart by giant bugs. I mean, the whole reason for the war is that supposedly bugs pulled the Javier Milei and destroyed Buenos Aires by launching an asteroid from a different solar system towards Earth. If anyone is getting Iraq War, Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction vibes, yeah, you should. The bugs' home system is tens of thousands of light years away. Even if they somehow managed to precisely hit Earth from such a distance, the asteroid would have taken millions of years to get there. So no, the bugs could not have done it. The whole
Okay. A lot to break down in there.
That was a lot, but I'll be honest, I haven't watched the movie. So, Lark, I'll leave it to you.
As someone who has watched the movie and read the book and watched the riff tracks of it.
I need to see the riff tracks.
Highly
I need to see the riff tracks.
Yes, you do.
I do.
But here's the problem. Several things. One, I get that's what the director wanted to do. I don't think he did a good job.
No.
Because a lot of people missed the satire because they were caught up in the hokey fun of the movie. Because as much as you point out, like, oh, it looks like a hopeless struggle, the Terran Federation seems like is shown to be sort of like a great place to live in the movie. Like, we don't see much crime, we don't see much problems in life. And granted, if you want to make a full satire movie of calling this a fascist state or anything like that, maybe don't make the fascist state look so nice. And two, the big problem that you have there is claiming like, oh no, this they couldn't have possibly attacked. If you've read the original book, which I'm not sure you have, then you would know that yes, the bugs did attack Earth, and that they are a large interstellar empire. And that they have launched attacks like that previously and before. So it doesn't quite add up because the book originally has it, yes, that's how they attacked it. Now you might say, well, in the movie it's going to be different, but even in the movie there's still an interstellar empire, so there's no reason to suspect, that they wouldn't.
Well, it's funny, like, again, I haven't seen the movie, but, like, take Helldivers 2. The opening of Helldivers 2, the opening cinematic, you look at it, and obviously it's a propaganda commercial for joining the Helldivers, right? But when you look at Super Earth and look at the society, it looks really cool. It looks really chill. Like, everything's clean, everyone looks happy, and obviously it's propaganda, but my point being, if this is your goal to make a satire of fascism, like you said, don't make the fascists look so good and happy.
Well, I think Helldivers 2 does it a lot better.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to the dialogue and a lot of stuff, you kind of get like, oh shoot, that's kind of dark. It's like, yay, we get an extra mandated 1 minute of break time today. Like, excuse me?
Yeah, they handled that a lot better than I would have.
Yeah.
At least I would have.
I think that's the thing is like Helldivers 2 isn't married to the original book of Starship Troopers, so it can break connection and just go full ham.
Right.
Which does a pretty good job of the satire.
Right.
The movie still had to have a decent amount of connection to the original book and at least the original plot structure. So the satire doesn't shine through as well. It's there, it doesn't shine through as well, particularly because we do see heroic sacrifices actually mean something. We do actually see, and how does the movie end? It ends with
he brings up the ending.
Oh, he does? Well, forgive me.
But before we get into the ending, though, I do want to point out we started at 3 minutes and 24 seconds. We're now at 6:13. He hasn't talked about Warhammer in that time. He's been talking about Starship Troopers. This is a 22-minute video. You might want to get back to Warhammer. That was the point of your video. But let's continue. Mute.
Could not have done it. The whole asteroid business also begs the question, if the bugs can pull that off, why don't they keep doing it once humans attack them? Because it's all bullshit. The asteroid was an accident at best and a false flag operation at worst that got blamed on the bugs to keep the war machine and thus the military-industrial complex occupied. In the end, however, all humans accomplish is getting a bunch of soldiers murdered. By the end of the movie, we see literal child soldiers deployed as the Terran Federation is running out of regular troops. And it's not like the bugs are a threat to humanity. They aren't like the Tyranids actively trying to eat humanity. The bugs are on the other side of the galaxy and generally don't bother you unless you bother them first, which humans did by settling on the bugs' home planet. During the closing scene of the Starship Troopers movie, the soldiers capture a brain bug, the bug's equivalent of a command and control vehicle basically. In this scene, Neil Patrick Harris reads the brain bug's emotions and loudly proclaims it's afraid to the soldiers around him, after which everyone erupts in cheers and the whole scene is played off seemingly as the glorious ending of a righteous military campaign. Except it's not, and the movie goes to great lengths showing you why in the 2 hours preceding this scene. First off, as I've said, it was the humans who attacked first. The bugs did not start this conflict. They were attacked based on false pretenses and they decimated the humans for it. I mean, if the literal child soldiers by the end aren't indication enough, I don't know what to tell you. Hundreds of thousands of human deaths for no reason. That end scene with the brain bug is basically one massive cope by the Terran Federation. The director even added a nice little touch. When the bug starts jittering out of fear, the soldiers quickly back away from it. This is not a victory. You captured what is basically a single command and control vehicle at the end of your campaign that cost the lives of hundreds of thousands of soldiers. It's like when the other Federation, the Russian one, exhibits a captured Abrams on Red Square. Yeah, you got that one, congrats, but you also lost more than 18,000 pieces of heavy equipment in Ukraine, and it's just the visually confirmed losses, not to mention your casualties. Anyway, the Starship Troopers movie is very clear about it being a satire. The discourse that erupted around it, however, was truly mind-boggling. On one side, you had people with the reasonable take. Everything that happened to humans is basically their fault, the war with the bugs was completely unnecessary, and the Terran...
Okay.
We need to pause real quick to talk about this part.
Okay, so a bit before he goes into whatever the hell he's spieling, I want to talk about the thing. Again, it is still not clear that it was a false flag operation because they ask, hey, because he's like, well, why don't they just do that more? Because it's like, hey, here's a question for you. In World War II, the Japanese did a great sneak attack on Pearl Harbor and all the Pacific Fleet. Why didn't they just attack Pearl Harbor again and again and again and again and again? Why didn't they? Oh, wait, could it be that the U.S. Navy now knew something was up and was now moving in and made sure that that couldn't happen again? Also, if you watch the movie, one of the things they point out before the asteroid hit Buenos Aires was that bugs were already attacking Mormon settlers in regions that the Terran Federation said, hey, don't settle in that area. That's outside of Terran space. The bugs may attack you. The bugs attacked the Mormons unprovoked.
Yep. So the idea that they're not a threat to anyone unless you mess with them first is genuinely a lie. But here's another thing. Can I ask a question? Like, I don't know this, so genuinely I'm curious. So, Lark, didn't the director of Starship Troopers, the movie, say that he was not a fan of the book and that he didn't even finish reading it?
Yes, that is true.
So, quite frankly, I would say it's a piss-poor adaptation in any event.
It is. The thing is, it inadvertently became popular because it's a hokey, fun action movie.
What I would say, ironically, the book was probably more meant to be a glorification of patriotism and defense of one's values and standards. Very much what he would call a right-wing glorification book of the 1950s and 40s. But this guy read it, or read part of it, and said, oh, I just can't stand this. Let's make it a satire of fascism. And I'm kind of like, okay, but instead of making it a satire of fascism, you made it unironically hilarious. You made it fun. You made it entertaining.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of like, yeah, we do see a bunch of blood, gore, and death, but that's what war is.
Yeah. War is bloody. War is gory. Things get ugly. And here's the funny thing. Here's the part that gets me. His whole argument is that they're losing the war because we see child soldiers here.
And one, he doesn't really look. I'm sure, like,
yeah,
he's as tall as some of the others. So
he looks young. None of the others do. Looks young.
Maybe he's a bit young, I guess. It could also be like the situations in World War I and World War II where children lied about their age to enlist.
It could be. Yeah.
Did happen. multiple ways to look at it, but let's give him the credit to say, like, yes, it is. He also wants to talk crap about the brain bug being discovered and go like, oh yeah, you only got one. What about all the others? I'm like, you don't understand how significant that was. You would if you read the book. Because brain bugs literally help control the hive mind. It is very rare to find them and to get them. The fact that they are now able to get them is a massive deal. This isn't like getting a tank, like, oh, what about the rest? They were destroying tank bugs previously. This is basically, like, if you were fighting a war with ants, you found a queen.
Yep. So he's very much underplaying the victory that they had in capturing the brain bug.
Yep. And also, might I point out, even at the end of the movie, they're still going on the offensive. It's not like they're being pushed back. They are being successful. And if you actually read the book, you know that the Federation was getting better and better at fighting the bugs.
You know what would have made it really good satire? Is if after that cheerful scene when it fades to black, it shows a little text, Terrans were forced off of the planet 3 months later. Like, that would have been a much better way to show the satire of the scene.
Or, even better yet, as they go like, it's afraid, yeah, and then a tank bug comes and kills them all.
That would have been, like... Or something, to show that, but they didn't. But anyway, can I point out one more thing before we move on? We still haven't gotten to Warhammer.
You are correct. He's mentioned Tyranids, but...
Moving on. Let's go. I know y'all are bored. I'm sorry.
On one side, you had people with the reasonable take. Everything that happened to humans is basically their fault, the war with the bugs was completely unnecessary, and the Terran Federation is a crazy, jingoistic fascist empire. I mean, the director put Neil Patrick Harris in a literal SS uniform. The message is very clear. Also, the brain bug scene is followed up by a propaganda video in which people gleefully tortured the brain bug, so there's that too. But some disagreed with this assessment. A lot of people legitimately did not understand how anyone could take the side of the bugs, empathize with the bugs even, when all the Terran Federation characters are attractive and the bugs are disgusting. And I mean, that's the whole point. The way you instinctively feel about the bugs is how a white supremacist feels about blacks or how a Nazi feels about Jews. Revolting freaks to be crushed under their boots. Not coincidentally, this is often how Jews were depicted by Nazi propaganda. Disgusting insects to be purged from the face of Earth. The movie is...
Okay, so let me be clear about this because I think that he is being incredibly stupid in this.
He's reaching.
Well, here's what it is. If a Nazi draws one of those awful propaganda photos that he showed of Jews as bugs, he is using symbolism to show how the Jews are bad.
To him.
But to him, yes. But in reality, they're not bugs. Jews do not look like actual bugs. He's using that in a propaganda piece to show the Jews as bugs, but they are not actually bugs. In this, they are bugs!
They are called the arachnids because they are literally bugs. They are a hive mind that operate very much akin to ants. So them going like, oh, they're disgusting bugs is accurate because they are in fact disgusting bugs.
Like
now, if you want to argue, hey, they still shouldn't be treating them badly because they're still, sentient creatures deserving of compassion, that's certainly an argument to be made. But you can't criticize them for pointing out the bugs are ugly when the bugs are in fact ugly.
I like how he says that's the point. It's the way that the white supremacists or the Nazis or whatever have painted this faction. They didn't have to paint them as ugly. They are effing ugly. So, sorry, couldn't resist it. Moving on.
Essentially challenges you to take the side of the group you were conditioned to hate. And oh boy, did many people fail this test. The discourse essentially became an indicator of who would fall for Nazi propaganda, where all the Aryan Germans are depicted as tall, strong and beautiful, and all the supposed subhumans as revolting freaks. With that, Starship Troopers gave us a very important revelation about the importance of aesthetics. If an otherwise horrible faction is depicted as badass and handsome in an IP, some people will start idolizing them and co-opt their visuals, no matter how monstrous the faction is or how much satire you heap on. And this brings us to Warhammer 40k.
Okay, so we're finally back to Warhammer 40k, but before we do, let's address what he just said.
Again, I have to read it like you failed, like you would have fallen for Nazi propaganda, and I'm going to go, well, one, no, that doesn't prove it, because again, when they said the Jews were horrible bug creatures, we know Jews aren't like that. You can go out and talk to Jews and meet Jews and go, they're not bad, they're not like that. But the bugs tried to eat me.
Well, I do like how he says that this movie tried to test you to see if you would not identify with the people who look like you. Let me be clear. I don't identify with people who look like me. I identify with people who share my values. And when do the bugs show me anything to value from their behavior and their actions? When do we see the obvious moral evils of humanity and the obvious moral goods of the bugs?
Like, did we see...
Like, when did we see the bugs do anything good, wholesome, valuable, meaningful? When were they not trying to kill humans who, throughout the movie, are shown as the heroes and the good guys? Like, when do we see humans doing bad things to other humans? We see them doing bad things to the bugs because the bugs are painted as the enemy. Wait, they're not even painted as the enemy. They are the enemy. They're the ones we're fighting.
And until you can definitively prove, hey, this was a false flag attack, it's kind of hard to do it. And also, look at it from the perspective of the soldiers. They're going in and they're seeing their guys get nommed on, and you're going to look at them and go, I can't believe you would shoot at the bugs.
Well, here's the thing, and here's the part that I find so funny. I think he failed the test as well, because, honestly, you're basically dehumanizing humanity because they're defending their interests. I find that hilarious. But regardless of that point, like you said, Lark, the director did a poor job of satire here. He did a very poor job satirizing the book and satirizing the fascistic ideals of the Terran Federation.
Because, like, there's people that have done better breakdowns on YouTube, and even I've seen a few decent ones on Twitter, where they talk about, like, how the book isn't fascist, how the Federation being set up isn't fascist. It certainly is authoritarian, but the thing is, it's not, like, racist, sure, it prefers humanity over everybody else, but you actually do see in the book, like, they will make allies with other races and species. And so, the thing is, one, I can tell you it's not fascist because it's actually successful.
Yeah.
Two, it's lasted for more than, 10 years? So, it's always a reach. I get where they come from, though. I do get that, but he's
all right.
He's reaching.
But now we finally gotten back to Warhammer.
After 9 minutes and 22 seconds.
Well, not 9 minutes. Keep in mind, we started at 3:24, so it's been technically 6 minutes.
Okay, still.
It's been 6 minutes, but still, in a 22-minute video, that's significant. So let's get back on Warhammer, okay? Warhammer we go. Let's hop into it.
Idolizing them and co-opt their visuals, no matter how monstrous the faction is or how much satire you heap on. And this brings us to Warhammer 40k. Let's consider its opening paragraphs. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and the master of a million worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die. Vast armies give battle in his name on uncounted worlds, but for all their multitudes, they are barely enough to hold off the ever-present threat from aliens, heretics, mutants, and worse. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim dark future there is only war.
I'm going to pause there because he skipped the whole second paragraph. He skipped the whole second paragraph. He read the first and then jumped into the third. He didn't read this part right here. It's important that he should have, because it says here, greatest among his soldiers are the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, bioengineered super warriors. Their comrades in arms are Legion, the Astra Militarum and countless planetary defense forces, the ever-vigilant Inquisition, and the tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus, to name only a few. But for all their multitudes, this is the important part, but for all their multitudes, they are barely enough to hold off the ever-present threat from aliens, heretics, mutants, and worse. This part is important because what we're going to see throughout this video is he's going to paint the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines specifically, as unfeeling, brainwashed Nazis. He skipped this second paragraph because this portion right here, talking about what they are and what they fight against, shows there is an ever-present threat from aliens, heretics, mutants, and worse that they are barely holding off. But he's going to ignore that because that would ruin his interpretation of Space Marines. I wanted to point that out because many people... That's the thing. He skipped that whole bit, which would have added context to what the Space Marines are. He only focused on the parts that show how hopeless humanity is right now. He didn't focus on the part about the threats to humanity. He only focused on the bloody regime and the cruelest aspect of it. He wanted to focus on, to be a man is sometimes to be amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest, most bloody regime imaginable. See, there it is. That's what he wants to hone in on. That's what he wants to talk about, the bloody regime, not the threats. See, here's the reality. The Nazis are awful, right? But the Nazis grew in power because they created a supposed enemy. They were fighting against a supposed enemy. Now, their enemy was supposed. They claimed the Jews and the Gypsies and all that were a supposed enemy. It wasn't a real enemy. They made it an enemy. Here, though, are they supposed enemies? Are the Tyranids and the Orcs and all these other just supposed enemies? Or are they real enemies? That's what I wanted to point out there. Sorry about that. All right, we'll continue now. Ready?
Ready?
There is no peace among the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. The 40k universe is a rough place. It's basically war and suffering turned up to a ridiculous level, and it kinda works. Warhammer 40k manages to straddle the line between epic and silly, nailing the perfect ratio of the two. And this works really well for the board game. You both bring out your armies you spent 200 plus hours painting, one of you fields Chaos Marines, the other Astra Militarum, and you duke it out in this silly but epic setting, having lots of fun in the process. This over-the-top horrifying universe is a great niche for tabletop games played by nerds, including yours truly. But what if you want to make a universally appealing AAA video game? How do you implement this idea that everything in the grimdark future is horrible, the soldiers are brainwashed drones dying for nothing, and that the wars you fight are completely hopeless, and all of you are essentially doomed? How do you make an enjoyable AAA game around these ideas? Games Workshop thought long and hard, and decided that they'll just kinda forget about most of the grimdark stuff.
I want to stop there and point out a real problem. I really like the part where he says dying for nothing. Where he says the Space Marines are dying for nothing. Like, he argued that in Starship Troopers, the soldiers are dying for nothing because the bugs aren't a real threat. Okay, let's pretend he's right. Let's just pretend he's right there.
Alright.
Are the Tyranids, Orcs, Tau, Eldar, Necrons, and Chaos Forces nothing? Are they not a threat?
They are.
They are very much a threat. So when the Space Marines die in thousands to hold them off, are they dying for nothing?
Yes, even the guardsmen. I'm reminded of a speech. Remember, pity the guardsmen. But point being, there, you're looking at this very, very weird, as though there was no grimdarkness in the game. You still see the grimdarkness. It just doesn't jangle the keys in your face. Like, I saw tweets from people that were looking at servitors and bodies coming out of walls because they were like part of a servitor mechanization. They're like, or the cherubs, and they were going like, dude, what the hell is this? And I'm like, welcome to 40k, dude.
There is grimdark. Here's the problem. Here's the thing. His issue is not that there isn't grimdark. He's claiming there's no grimdark, but his issue is that they aren't portraying the Space Marines as jackbooted thugs.
Yes.
They're portraying the Space Marines as heroes.
I know, but I'm going to counter what he said because he said it.
Right. Now, I know, but... So he's saying that they trying to push all the grimdark stuff away. They did not. They did not do this. So let's keep going.
The Space Marine games, while containing hints of the absurdity of the Imperium, are for the most part made to make the player feel like a cool, epic, badass war hero soldier mowing down thousands of enemies without breaking a sweat. And with that, Games Workshop has made the biggest mistake possible when it comes to depicting fascists. They made them appear cool and badass. And
maybe, just maybe they weren't trying to depict fascists.
Because the Space Marines aren't fascists.
Funny you say that, Lark. Let's listen to what he has to say.
And yes, Space Marines are fascists.
Do tell.
Do tell. Would you guys like to hear how Space Marines are fascists? Would you guys?
I am sitting here awaiting his glorious.
I'm not going to pause. I'm going to let him say in full why the Space Marines are fascists. You're going to love this. You're going to love his explanation of it. You ready, Lark?
I'm ready.
You're not ready. Are you ready, Lark?
I'm ready.
You're not ready. Are you ready, Lark?
I'm ready. I think.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
What is?
They're turbo space Nazis who will turn you into minced meat if you say something they deem heretical. Atrocities, purges, and genocides are just par for the course for them. If your service to the Imperium means mowing down 10,000 civilians because there might be heretics among them, so be it. You're murdering women and children without any second thought or remorse because you are a mindless drone bred for combat, and that's just what it's like to live under the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable.
There you go. That's why they're fascists. So, tell me, Lark, are they fascists?
No.
No.
First of all, they aren't like he describes. Two, you could make the same argument like, oh, they're communists. Because a communist regime would do very much the same thing, though they wouldn't be heretics, they would just be dissidents.
So a lot of what he said just... Okay, so, for example, like, killing thousands of people because some of them might be heretics. First of all, you wouldn't call a Space Marine to do that. You would call the Inquisition, and even then, an Inquisition agent, depending on the agent, might not do that.
Yeah,
there are some Inquisition agents who go, no, let's find the heretics and kill them. Yes, there are some who would say, we'll burn the planet, it's fine. There are some who would do that, but not all of them.
Yeah, and another thing I got to point out, and I think people in his comment section pointed this out too. Not all Space Marines are the same.
Right.
You have some, maybe the Marines Malevolent on a day might go, let's just kill all the people here just because it's going to save time and be more efficient. But no. A lot of Space Marines would, if an Inquisitor or a Guardsman came up to them and said, hey, we need you to go in and kill all of those people, we think there might be heretics. The Space Marine is probably going to kill them for wasting their time going, excuse me, you don't even know where they are, and you're wasting the most valuable resource in the Imperium?
And there are plenty of Space Marines who would actually protect the average man. I mean, Salamanders are the most obvious example.
Because they have literally gone to blows with other Space Marines for such a thing.
And then even leaving out the Salamander, I literally looked up wholesome moments of Space Marines. I found some beautiful moments of space, like the Crimson Fist chapter master, literally carrying a family on his shoulders and saying, "They are our wards now. We're protecting them." A Dark Angel apothecary giving a C-section to save a baby inside of a dying woman, We have examples of Space Marines doing very wholesome, helpful things.
As much as the Space was great on me, during the months of shame, they went to war with the Inquisition and the Grey Knights because they were doing the exact stuff you were talking about. And after the fact, the Grey Knights went, the Space Wolves actually had a point. Let's not do that anymore.
Yep. And then, of course, we can also look at Lionel Johnson in the current setting, who literally allowed himself to be humbled around a bunch of normal humans and allowed them to work under him and works to protect them in combat. He doesn't use them as meat shields. He doesn't question their loyalties. Legitimately, let's look at it this way. Lionel Johnson knows about his fallen sons. If the Imperium is every bit as awful as you say, wouldn't he just go, yeah, they're all evil, we're just going to kill all the fallen? He actually gives them a chance. He tries to talk to them. He tries to understand them.
Yeah, another thing I want to go to, he talks about them as being mindless drones. No.
They're not mindless.
They're not mindless drones. There is psycho-indoctrination, yes, but they're not mindless. They can come up with creative solutions, and several of them are capable of very much deep friendships, because that's one of the appeal of the Astartes, is their deep brotherhood. That's why a lot of people are like, hey, you really shouldn't add females to the Astartes, because one of the big catches for them is brotherhood. Just like in the Sororitas, it's sisterhood. But brotherhood is very much important to these people. But also, I want this guy to read Dante in the Desolation of Baal. And you tell me that the Blood Angels in particular are evil fascist Nazis. Because Dante actually does have to make some hard choices. He does go with Crittman's plan of exterminating Imperial worlds to deprive the Tyranid hive mind of food before it gets to Baal. And he's not happy about it. He laments the fact that he has to do this. And he laments the fact that his entire progeny is almost wiped out because of a threat that is trying to destroy humanity.
See, that's the thing. Here's the thing that you need to realize about the grim darkness of the far future. The reason why the Imperium of Man is as awful as it is to live in is because of the awful threats it has to deal with. It's not coming out of nowhere. It's so easy to point at the Space Marines and go, they're fascistic, low-minded, soldiers for a dying god who died for nothing and blah, blah, blah. You can say all that, but at the end of the day, I want you to answer the question. What are they fighting? What's the enemy? What's the threat? What led to the Imperium in being like this? What led to this? You cannot answer that question without looking like a hypocrite. But he has worse to say. Believe it or not, this still isn't the worst.
All right, let's keep going.
If you doubt me, I invite you to check out the episode in The Garden of Ghosts from the Hammer and Bolter series, where we are treated to a scene of a purged Forge world. No, wait, that's the Adeptus Mechanicus thing, alright. Craft world. That's a giant space habitat, basically, where the Eldari, the space elves, live. Home to millions at minimum. Well, the noble Ultramarines massacred the entire Forge world, murdering untold thousands of men, women, and children. Because they were Xenos, therefore degenerate, therefore worthy of death. Shout out!
All right, so that's his example where a bunch of Space Marines wiped out all the women and children and people of a craft world, all because they were just Xenos. You know, that does sound pretty heinous, so I'll give him that. What did the Eldar do?
Because what I love is, if I haven't seen that episode, but if the color scheme is anything to go by, that was Eandon. And Eandon is one of the largest. And they are very much known for being sort of like the Space Marines of the Eldar, because they will attack humans for the slightest provocation, even without none. They will redirect orc hordes to Imperial worlds to slave one Eldar life. They don't care a damn about human life. So, reality, it's like, does it suck that the Ultramarines are doing this? Yes. Would Eandon do the exact same thing to Ultramar? Yes.
See, that's the thing. I love this. I love this double standard. It's so awful that the Space Marines go to here and kill all these Eldar because they're Xenos. But we're not going to point out how the Eldar have the exact same view of humanity. And also, you're not even looking at the times where Space Marines have helped the Eldar. How about when the Grey Knights delivered some soul crystals to the Eldar that they got from defeating a Slaneshi cult? Literally, they didn't have to do that. They just showed up on an Eldar world and said, hey, we got these. And the Eldar were like, wait, you're just giving them to us? Yeah, we don't want them. We know they're yours, so take them. They didn't have to do it. They went out of their way to do it. There are moments of that happening. And then, of course, we can point out to how Yvraine worked to help bring back Guilliman, and they have a pretty good working relationship right now. We can look at how, oh god, what was her name? The Adeptus Sororitas, who works alongside an Eldar.
Oh gosh, hold on, I think I can figure.
I forget her name now.
We can find out, because we have a model somewhere around here. Where did we put the model?
I don't know where we put the model.
Oh, here it is.
You got it?
Yep. Ephriel Stern.
Ephriel Stern. Ephriel Stern is a Sororitas who has a literal partner in crime.
Harlequin.
A Harlequin Eldar who works alongside him. Look, that's the thing about space. That's the thing about Warhammer. There is nuance. Yes, there are moments of Space Marines eradicating Eldar and moments of Eldar eradicating Space Marines, but there are also moments of Space Marines working with Eldar and Eldar working with Space Marines. There are moments of Necrons working with Space Marines. There are moments of Orcs working with Astra Militarum. That's the thing. There is nuance. There is creativity. On one world, you may have an absolute slugfest of Space Marines destroying everything in their way, but then on another, you have a very uneasy but working alliance. That's the nature of Warhammer. You can have it both ways. But the fact that you'll point at one and say, see, look at how evil they are. I invite you to look at the opposite end of that spectrum where Eldar, Tau, Orcs, Tyranids, Necrons, and Chaos will do the exact same thing. But you don't feel like
worse.
It's not worse, but you don't point that out. You don't point that out. This is stupid. Don't get me wrong. I'm not denying that there are dark moments in Warhammer that I don't like.
The Space Marines will do stuff, and there are multiple occasions where they will crap on the Eldar, but at the same time, the Eldar are anything but innocent.
Yeah, to argue that the Eldar are just innocent bystanders, like the only reason they would ever go after Eldar is because they're Xenos. Yeah, in some cases, yes. In other cases...
Yeah, because there are there are small, basically, subject empires to the Imperium of Xenos that the Imperium has either made docile or they've concluded that they aren't a threat, so as long as they don't do anything crazy, they're allowed to live.
Yes. In fact, I would argue that the only races in the Imperium that mankind is willing to work with are the Tau and the Eldar.
Yeah,
and even then, it's usually begrudging. It's usually like, we don't like working with you, but fighting you would be a waste of resources. The fact that they're even willing to say fighting you would be a waste of resources shows they don't just kill you for being Xenos. They need a higher reason. Like, I remember reading the first Caiaphas Cain book, where they were talking about pushing the Tau off of Gravelax, and the commander of the military literally says, the ball isn't worth it. It's not worth the manpower to force these guys off. If they were really fascistic, it wouldn't matter. They'd throw the whole damn Imperium at them to force them off. Some fascist government, they seem way more logical than he's giving them credit for.
Honestly, this is going to upset a lot of the people. The Imperium's government, if you want to find a government that looks like them in World War II, it's not Nazi Germany. The closer equivalent would actually be Communist Russia.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Okay, enough ranting. Let's get on with it. We're only a little over halfway through.
out to Purity Seal for this lore tip, by the way. You can find his channel under @thepurityseal. In popular first-person shooters, however, such things cannot be depicted because your game would be banned worldwide. A Warhammer 40k shooter game true to the lore would be a war crime simulator.
Remember?
Please, let me join your guild. I want to be a part of a team.
No rushing.
And it would just be weird playing as a psychotic, murderous maniac committing crimes against humanity for 8 hours without any self-awareness or remorse. Actually that sounds like super fun and— wait, I'm sorry, this video is for people 13 and above. Who let these children in here? But I love playing as an unrepentant murderous psycho. Yeah, try playing Mass Effect as a renegade. Don't believe me? Apparently, according to Mass Effect player stats, 92% of players played as Paragon and only 8% as Renegade. Most people just don't want to be an asshole, not even in video games. But even if a Warhammer shooter was true to form and the player was made to feel like a disposable cog in a purposeless murder machine tasked with the occasional genocide, there are people who would love that and would absolutely play that game. I get that. But if you're making a game, you want to appeal to the widest audience possible, not just to people on terror watch lists.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I needed to let that play because I needed to let him get all that bullshit out. You know, it's rare, Lark, that I see a guy literally show his own straw man on screen. Not just say it, but just show it.
Yes. Indeed. But then again, that is what the soy jacks were made for. But a couple things. One, yes, it is hard to do that in Mass Effect because of how the writing, the renegade options are often mustache-twirlingly evil. People have joked about that with BioWare, but here's the thing. A lot of people actually liked playing that game, even people that would not want to play the renegade thing, but certain times, there are games where sometimes we go a little crazy. For example, Stellaris players, where people try and speedrun the Imperium of Man by making the genocide button a thing. Anyone who's also played Civ 5 knows how tempting the nukes button can be. There is some fun in certain games of just going, okay, I'm getting a mustache.
You want to know half the reason why the quick save button was created? So that you could go, okay, I want to kill something. Quick save. All right. That's
one of the big jokes of Skyrim. All right, this merchant has irritated me. Now all of Riften will know my rage.
I'm going to use the magical spell of quick save, and then
also, I can tell you've never played a game of D&D in your life.
See, here's the problem, dude. Here's the problem. What you're basically saying is true. Most people wouldn't want to play a game where you go on a genocidal rampage. Most people wouldn't want to play that game. But here's the funny thing. Not all of Warhammer 40k is genocidal rampage. You are making it sound like that's all Warhammer 40k is. Just genocide, evil, destruction of human life and innocence. That's what you're making it sound like. It's not. It is not. And in a minute, you're actually going to prove that and ignore it. That's what I love about this video, guys. He literally presents his opposition and willfully ignores it. That's what I love about this. So... all right, ready?
Ready, George.
Bottoms up.
In Space Marine 2, the latest Warhammer 40k game ended up doing the former, choosing appeal over what I would call honesty about its universe. You're not a mindless, psychotic drone killing in the name of a doomed fascist empire, but a noble, heroic warrior protecting your home from freaks and degenerates. The overt satire is basically gone because it had to be. There are allusions to the Imperium being bad, but not nearly overt enough. A Warhammer 40k true to form would be like a version of Modern Warfare where every second mission is no Russian, only even more bloody and deranged. But if anyone released a game like that, most countries wouldn't even let them publish it. Keep in mind, by the way, that I do like Space Marine 2, and I do think it's a good game. Just before anyone would start yelling at me how the game isn't bad, actually. I
don't believe you a bit. I don't believe you like the game. I don't believe you enjoyed the game. I believe you sat there and critiqued it all the way through saying, this isn't Warhammer, this isn't Warhammer, this isn't Warhammer. In fact, I'm willing to bet money you didn't even finish the game.
I can predict that you probably, every second you were going through, you were going, you're not blatantly making this bad, making fascism bad. This is bad game now. I bet you're an obnoxious twat who goes to your local game store, and when you see people playing Warhammer, and you dare see someone playing an Imperium faction, you go, you made them fascists, right? You made sure that they were evil, right? You made sure that they are unapologetically evil, because if you don't do that, you're not appreciating the satire.
Yeah, if your whole opinion on Warhammer is that it's meant to be satire, how can you enjoy it when it breaks from the satire?
Yeah, because here's the thing: it was like the satire has been removed. The satire has been gone for decades.
But let's keep going because this actually gets worse. Just brace yourself.
It's a good game, it's cool and epic, and I like it. But there are overarching issues with it, which we're currently discussing. Now, the reason why the Warhammer 40k books and tabletop games are allowed to get away with containing atrocities, while video games aren't, is because in the game you would get to act out said atrocities. At the very least, we would get vivid depictions of them. You don't just read about, say, Space Marines murdering 10,000 women and children, or you don't just play with miniatures of a Space Marine faction, which according to the lore once murdered 10,000 women and children. Nope, this is an interactive video game where you are a Space Marine, and congratulations, your next mission is to purge a civilian slum of 10,000 where the presence of heretics is suspected. Here's your chainsword and plasma incinerator, good luck. And then you get dropped onto the map with a counter appearing on your screen standing at 0 out of 10,000. Nobody would want to play that game, and those who even bother to try wouldn't have fun playing it if the game was even legal to distribute, even though such a game would fit perfectly into the Warhammer 40k universe.
Okay, so this is what I was talking about. He presents his opposition and willfully ignores it. Let's take a minute to appreciate what he did. The books and the tabletop would not show the genocidal aspects of Warhammer 40k. The books won't do it, and they are allowed to get away with not showing it because, I mean, you don't have to read that. They can show other things. In the tabletop, you're not going to genocide other people. You're going to play against other players. But in a video game, you'd have to show it because it's an interactive experience. And my response is, why? I'm dead serious. He's making it sound like every aspect of Warhammer 40k is genocide, and yet he points out where in the tabletop and in the books, it's not. Literally, can we rewind and look at some of those books he put on screen? Actually, let's take a look at some of those books. We've got Caiaphas Cain twice, For the Emperor and Hero of the Imperium. There's very little of the genocidal aspect of Warhammer 40k in the Caiaphas Cain series. You've got Horus Rising, which didn't show a whole lot of human genocide, but it showed him a lot of the war aspect. You've got Eisenhorn Xenos.
Yes.
Eisenhorn didn't have as much of that.
Well, here's the thing. There's even, like, the opening scene of Xenos, or the opening part of it, is him trying to stop a heretic who in the process was trying to kill a bunch of people in hibernation, like, as a sacrifice, and he managed to stop it. And when the planetary governor and politic got upset at him, even though he had, by every right, he didn't have to listen to them, he calmly listened to them, even though they irritated him, and he rationally explained to them, this is the threat to your world, I stopped it, things could have been a lot worse, I'm not the one you want, I will do what I can to follow your laws, but do understand I'm an inquisitor, and that comes with a certain degree of weight.
Then you have Hell's Reach, a story where a Black Templar, who didn't have to, revitalized and remoralized an entire fortress to help hold off an orc invasion and died fighting for them. Grimaldus was a G. And going back to Caiaphas Cain, those are comedies. The Caiaphas Cain series are comedies about a cowardly commissar who constantly stumbles his way into victories through not only his accidental successes, but his own skill that he won't even acknowledge, all told from the perspective of a lover of his who happens to be an inquisitor. They are very entertaining books who focus on... But here's the cool thing about all the books. They focus on different aspects of Warhammer 40k. Some will focus on the Inquisitor hunting the heretic. Some will focus on the Commissar dealing with various different threats. Some will focus on a Space Marine trying to rediscover any hope in himself and in the galaxy. The Warhammer 40k books tell vast aspects of the lore. You're honing in on one, and you're arguing, well, the books don't have to show that aspect. They can show other things. But then say the video game has to?
And
why?
Here's the thing I want to point out. So the tabletop doesn't point out the evilness. The books don't point out the evilness. The video games don't point out the evilness. Just maybe, hear me out now, maybe that isn't the main point. Maybe the atrocities and other stuff like that, when they do happen, is a flavor of the setting. And as many people have pointed out here, Space Marines aren't going to be sent out to just go kill innocent civilians. That's considered a waste. Now, some of them might kill civilians if they're in their way.
Yes.
Or if they might exterminate off the planet. They are not going to send down a Space Marine to just like, hey, here's a bolt gun, or here's a plasma gun, here's a chainsword, kill as many people as you see.
They're never going to do that.
You know who does that? The Night Lords, the Chaos Marines might do that for sport.
Here's the thing. Here's the reason I hate this. Here's the reason I hate this whole thing. You're basically saying every other mission in a Space Marine game would involve this. Let me ask you a question. in Space Marine 2, where would you even do that? Let's say that was a mission. Where would you do that? The planets that you're on are being overrun by Tyranids. Where is there a settlement where they're like, oh, by the way, I know we've got a Tyranid invasion to deal with, but would you mind taking a break from that to go purge this whole area of heretics? They would never say that. You deploy Space Marines to deal... Yeah, there's a joke going around in the Warhammer 40k community. If you're a normal civilian on a planet and you see Sororitas showing up to protect you, thank goodness, the Sororitas are here. When you see Space Marines showing up to save you, oh shit, this is about to get wild, because Space Marines don't hit the field until things are really bad. Space Marines don't hit the field until things have gone ploin-shaped. If a Space Marine has been deployed, they're not worried about heretics in a town. They're worried about a serious fucking threat. If an Inquisitor actually came to a Space Marine and said, hey, there's a small town and we think there could be a few heretics in there, would you mind burning the town? The Space Marine might pull a bolter on the Inquisitor and say, you better give me another fucking reason.
Yep. And again, so like I'm just pulling from Dante because it's a great book. There's a scene where Dante, back when he was like a squad sergeant, he and his squad were lost in a hive fighting Chaos Marines, and they actually come across a bunch of civilians trying to hide out, and they do what they can to actually try and help them and work with them instead of just going, oh, kill them all, they must be heretics. It's not how that works. Why do you automatically assume that? This is why people think you're a tourist, and you probably are, because your limited knowledge of Warhammer is just the Imperium fascist, Space Marine brainwashed fascist soldiers without understanding any of the lore behind them, any of the nuance, any of the diversity. Oh gosh, she's probably going to talk about how they need to be more diverse, aren't they?
We'll get there. All right, let's keep going.
And those who even bothered to try wouldn't have fun playing it if the game was even legal to distribute, even though such a game would fit perfectly into the Warhammer 40k universe. Such is life under the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable in the grimdark future. And that's just what they often do to fellow humans. Sentient, non-human civilians, even if not hostile, usually just get instantly murdered or worked to death as slaves. So Games Workshop had to take a different approach with their AAA game. For the sake of broad appeal, they had to gracefully sideline the unspeakable evil and cruelty of the Imperium. You're not committing atrocities, genocides, and other war crimes. Instead, you're fighting an endless horde of Tyranids, insectoid space alien predators, which threaten to overwhelm everything. In contrast to the bugs in the Starship Troopers movie, Tyranids are not the victims of aggression. Their singular goal is to devour absolutely everything. They are a force of nature, basically, and there is nothing morally wrong with killing them. The other enemy faction appearing in Space Marine 2 are the Forces of Chaos, who are just evil. Once again, nothing wrong with killing them. So your character, Titus of the Ultramarines, is doing the good thing, really. He's a protagonist. He's also a brainwashed space Nazi psychopath, prepared to commit even the most heinous atrocities without a hint of doubt should his masters command him. But let's not portray that, because that would be a downer for the average player. Therefore...
Yes, you're absolutely right. The brainwash Nazi that is Titus would never question orders, which is why in the entirety of Space Marine 2, he's constantly questioning what his superiors are telling him, and why he wants to get Calgar there so quickly to explain to him why the other people around him aren't doing right. Several times they accuse him of heresy because he's going against what the Primarch ordered. Not to mention, this is the same character that was tortured for a century by the Inquisition for the thought of heresy.
Lark, I know how angry you are, but before you continue, you need to hear what he says next. Like, legit, I want you to go on this rant, but it's not time yet.
Okay.
Get ready.
In Space Marine 2, Titus is mostly portrayed as a selfless war hero instead. And I know that there is a bit more nuance to the story and the character, especially in light of the previous game, but that unfortunately doesn't matter. That's stuff for lore wonks, not your average player who might not even have played the previous game. The new one...
There you go. So now you can go on your rant, because quite literally what he said there, for those who didn't follow it, is this. Titus is portrayed as a hero when he's also a fascistic space Nazi who would gladly kill innocent people if ordered to without batting an eye. And yes, we know that there's more nuance than that. There is more nuance to his character, especially when you consider the first game that he was in. But that doesn't matter, because that's for lore nerds, and most people probably even haven't played the first game. So quite literally, what you just heard him do, this is probably what got me so mad. He literally presented there is nuance to the character. There is nuance to the lore. But it doesn't matter because only lore nerds care about this, and many people haven't played the first game. So we're going to ignore all of that. We're going to ignore all that nuance and just focus on the way I want to portray him. Remember, this is the same guy who demanded that you understand the nuance of Starship Troopers. You need to understand the nuance and subtlety of the satire of Starship Troopers. You need to understand that the book of Starship Troopers, look, I know it looks fascist, but it's not fascist. It's just a product of the time. But now we're looking at Space Marine. Ignore that nuance. Ignore it. It's not important. Do you realize how willfully ignorant you have to be to do this?
It's baffling to me. It's baffling because the thing is, you say you like this game. You say you played this game. So you, who claim to like Warhammer and appreciate its setting, you mean you don't want to include the first game. You don't want to include the nuance of the books. You don't want to consider the ramifications of the tabletop game. You are literally looking at that opening paragraph to one of the codexes, I forget where specifically it's pulled from. You are looking at that, and then you are literally cherry-picking stuff from 40K. Any evidence to the contrary, you either just ignore or hand-wave away.
And literally, he just admitted he was hand-waving it away. This isn't us applying anything to him. He literally said, it doesn't matter. Most people haven't played the first game, and it's all for lore nerds.
Listen, this isn't like a boomer shooter like OG Doom or OG Wolfenstein, where it's something similar. Like, this is clearly a part of a greater lore. When they were making this game, Games Workshop was anal retentive about being lore accurate.
Here's what I love about this. He says that's all for lore nerds. I'm sorry, does the lore not matter? Does the lore not take relevancy here? Wouldn't the lore actually either exonerate or condemn him? If the lore... Here's the thing. I guarantee you, if the lore supported your opinion on him, you'd be pointing at it. You literally brought up a Reddit post earlier showing lore of what happens to Xenos citizens to show how evil it is. You're going to the lore when it suits you and ignoring the lore when it doesn't suit you. You, like you said, Lark, cherry picking at its finest.
And another thing I want to know about, you say this is bad because, they're making the Nazis look good. And yet your problem with the game is they don't act like Nazis. Maybe, just maybe, they're not making the Nazis look good because, again, they're not Nazis. They don't act like Nazis. They don't walk like Nazis. They don't talk like Nazis. Just maybe they aren't the Nazis you think they are. Maybe you're the one that has fallen for propaganda.
Yep. All right, shall we continue? Do you need a minute?
I had another point, but I just keep going.
Yeah, we're going to breathe a second. Courage and honor, brother. Courage and honor.
Courage and honor.
All right, let's do it.
Nuance is lost on them. And because of this, due to the satire taking a backseat, we have lunatic space Nazis made to look like heroes, tirelessly fighting against a tidal wave of freaks that threaten to destroy their glorious civilization, which is...
I actually want to... We have a group of lunatic space Nazis fighting against a bunch of freaks who want to destroy their civilization. All right, let's remove that first bit, lunatic space Nazis. Let's replace that with just men. We have a bunch of men fighting against a bunch of freaks who are trying to destroy their civilization. See, what I love about that is if you remove the part about lunatic space Nazis, suddenly it takes away the negativity, doesn't it? It's like, yeah, they want to protect their society from a bunch of they want to protect their society. They want to save their race. But you're just saying, but they're a bunch of lunatic space Nazis. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, if I'm going to be real honest. I'm going to be real honest with you for a second. If I found out that the entire Earth was going to be blown up, and the only person who could stop it was a literal white supremacist Nazi, you know who I'm rooting for? The white supremacist Nazi. Because if he has the means to save all the Earth, you know what? I'm back in his corner.
Let's use an actual historical example.
All right.
The struggle snuggle of Nanking.
The struggle snuggle of I like that.
The hero of that situation was a literal Nazi. He was the Nazi ambassador to China, and he was the one that would basically set up the international zone in Nanking, and he literally saved hundreds of women from getting raped by the Japanese Imperial Army.
Yep.
And so in that case, listen, you can hate his politics all you want, but in that case, he was doing a good deed, and he has a statue there to this day. Now, again, Nazis bad, obviously, but in that situation, clearly doing good. Now let's look at this situation again. Again, your big beef here is, well, they not acting like Nazis, and so they making Nazis look cool.
Maybe they're not Nazis.
No, and here's the other thing. I get what he's trying to say. Well, the problem is they'll think this is cool, and then they'll somehow come to the conclusion Nazis are cool because they're Nazis. If people do not automatically understand and associate with them with Nazis, then how are they going to come to the conclusion that Nazis are cool? And here's another thing. They might go, well, they might go, man, Space Marines are cool, and then they get involved with the lore, and they just ignore the fact that it's bad, like they're doing bad stuff, and that it's dark, and they just go, it's cool because of the video game. Here's the thing. You are going to get people that are going to get sucked into 40K because of this game. They will figure out it's actually bad. I ran recently a small campaign of Rogue Trader. I don't mean the video game, I mean the actual TTRPG. I ran that with two buddies of mine. One who was understanding of 40K, he was just getting into it, and one had no experience with it. He learned very quickly how harsh the 40K universe could be and how dark the Imperium could be. But he still thought it was cool. He still thought it was fun. But at no point did he ever say, yes, I think the Nazis were somehow correct.
Yep. All right, let's keep going.
Exactly how, say, white nationalists think of themselves, isn't it? The brave champions protecting white civilization from an onslaught of swarthy subhumans who would destroy all they've built. And since the video games have an overwhelming cultural influence compared to the books or the tabletop, the game's portrayal of Warhammer 40k becomes dominant in popular culture. Sort of like how the average person thinks of Superman as an unfeeling alien god. That's because those god-awful Snyder movies depicted him as such. Meanwhile, in the comics, he's this cool and friendly guy. I believe Cosmonaut Variety Hour put it best, and I'm paraphrasing, in the movies, Clark Kent is the mask worn by Superman, but in reality, Superman is the mask worn by Clark Kent. But due to the movie's overwhelming cultural influence over the comics, movie Superman becomes the cultural standard. Same with Warhammer 40k. The ultra-popular games will be the ones dictating the IP's public perception, not the niche books or the tabletop game. Unsurprisingly, the far-right began co-opting Warhammer 40k already a few years ago, God Emperor Trump being the most obvious example. Also God Emperor Putin, go figure. Now for...
Okay, so I've seen this before. Look, the right wing used Warhammer 40k memes. Yes, they did. I have seen the left use Warhammer 40k memes. It's like, look, God Emperor Trump. I've seen God Emperor Lenin.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's what he said that we need to get down. He basically said that even though the books and the lore show the Imperium for what it is, the video game Space Marine 2 doesn't. And unfortunately, because video games are what really gets to stand out in the media, this will be how people perceive Warhammer through the video game. He used the Superman thing as an example, saying, even though in the comics Superman is portrayed as more kind and compassionate, he's not in the Zack Snyder films. But because the Zack Snyder films are what more people are presented with, that is the now modern interpretation of Superman. Here's what I would say to that. False. First of all, most people, the vast majority of people know Superman for what he is. In fact, the Zack Snyder films were criticized for how they portrayed Superman. So I would point that out. But secondly, here's the reality. Space Marine 2 portrays Space Marines doing what Space Marines do. Fighting against enemies of mankind. The books and the lore show the wider galaxy of Warhammer 40k and what's going on in it. You cannot define all of World War II by looking at one battle. You cannot define all of human history by looking at one war. Therefore, you cannot define all of Warhammer 40k by one engagement. This battle that Titus fights in the game is barely a drop in the bucket, barely a pebble in the ocean when it comes to all the shit going on in Warhammer 40k. It is just one battle out of tens of millions against various other groups and factions. So to say that this game is trying to portray all of Warhammer 40k is lunacy. Warhammer 40k is so much more diverse and wide and outranged than that. So this guy is trying to say this game is missing the point of Warhammer 40k. No, it's showing a facet of Warhammer 40k. There are other ways to consume Warhammer 40k in its entirety. That's why you can't just consume Warhammer 40k in one setting. When people say, where do I start learning about Warhammer 40k? I always warn them, you won't learn about it in a day. It will take time. It will take months, years to fully comprehend all the stuff in Warhammer 40k. There are people today who consider themselves lore experts who are still learning about Warhammer 40k. It is a big hobby. So to say that this game missed the point, no, it's barely scratching the point. It is showing a simple facet of humanity fighting against its threats, which is what you could argue is the fundamental point, but not the entirety of the setting.
And also, might I point out, what do you realistically think is going to happen? Do you think someone is going to play Space Marine 2 and come to the conclusion, I should become a white supremacist? Do you unironically think people are going to do that? Do you think that's how people wrestle? You mean, yes, the game that has your best friend be a black and Asian man help you fight to protect humanity, suddenly you're going to stop and go, I should join the Nazi party. Do you think people are that dense?
Oh, trust me, he'll get there. We're not even there yet. You're going to love it.
Okay, well, let's...
We're not there yet. All right, here we go.
Right, fans of Warhammer don't actually play the tabletop game, so you won't be meeting them in real life. Online though, Warhammer 40k communities are often literal cancer, with people unironically parroting the fascist propaganda of the Imperium. Burn the heretics, kill the mutants, purge the unclean. It is better to die for the Emperor rather than to live for yourself. An open mind is like a fortress with its gates unbarred and unguarded. Kill lots of Xenos and got coin for the Emperor. Here's this image depicting an Imperium guardsman blowing himself up with an Eldari, basically a space elf, titled The Emperor Protects, with 1.9 thousand likes. The soldier is glad to die for the Emperor and believes that he saved him by letting him die in war. He's been brainwashed that hard. And the
He's not thinking the Emperor literally saved him right there. He's saying the Emperor protects because because remember, the Emperor to him is a god. He believes he is going to him. So he said, the Emperor protects, I'm taken care of. Who's going to save you? And he pops a grenade about to kill the both of them, which is actually kind of funny because I'd like to point out something. The Eldar, spiritually speaking, are fucked. Because what is their options? Basically seal themselves in a space purgatory, make a deal with their laughing god, get nommed on by Slaanesh, or... No, those are your only options in death.
Let's also consider the context here. In this comic page, give up, Monkai, you lost, and there's no Emperor to save you. Oh, it seems to me the Eldar just tried to kill this human. I thought they were innocent Xenos. I thought that was the argument. But here he is saying, you've lost this battle, and why do you still persist on smiling? Because, the Emperor's already saved me, who will save you? And then blows them both to Kingdom Come. And a lot of people thought that was really cool. It was really badass. That's why they say, the Emperor protects, the Eldar fate dice in the 4+. It's all fun. It's all for jokes and laughter. It's all for a good time. We're all having fun with the setting and the badass moments.
Why can't you just have fun with the setting? Again, you're the person that goes to people and going, hey, you didn't mention how fascism bad? Yeah, you must be actually fascist. You support fascists. You don't think you are, but you actually support fascists.
This is why I don't believe he actually likes Space Marines.
No, I don't believe he likes Warhammer.
All right, moving on.
Comments next to the image are of a similar vein. Approved. When I'm gone, I'll meet the God Emperor, but you, Xeno scum, the only God you'll meet is the Dark God, or whatever that is.
Okay, you know what he said? I know that we paused it a little early, but he said, the only God you will meet is the Dark God, whatever that is. You actually don't know Warhammer. You don't know Warhammer. We who understand Warhammer know exactly what he's talking about. But you saying, well, meet the Dark God, whatever that is, you would know if you knew anything about Warhammer that he means Slaanesh.
And also, might I point out, most of these are jokes. The whole thing is like inquisitorial approval. It's a big ongoing joke.
Oh, but he brings that up. He knows it's a joke, Lark. He knows it's a joke.
And yet
No, he knows it's a joke, but he's going to explain why he's still calling it out. Would you like to see?
Yes, let's go.
Let's go, guys. Let's get through this. You're going to love this. You're going to love this. Here we go.
Cadia stands for Cadia. Cadia is a fortress world most famous for doing the opposite of standing, by the way. There are also common image replies, most of which call for murdering someone, usually the post-author, or non-humans in general, called Xenos. Not just the evil, aggressive ones. No, literally everyone, including sentient Xenos and their civilians who would be otherwise neutral or even friendly. Just kill them all. I've also seen plenty of Warhammer memes about interracial cuckoldry, which is something far-right people online are absolutely obsessed with. Don't look it up, trust me. Now, let's stop here for a moment. Am I not taking this a bit too seriously, pointing at obvious memes and jokes below posts and pretending they're serious? I do realize these memes and replies are jokes, but often they also aren't. Now hold on, what the hell do I mean by that? How can one thing be two opposite things at the same time? I personally call such memes and jokes Schrodinger's shitpost. They are both a joke and not a joke at the same time. The meme exists in an ideological superposition until someone engages with it. So suppose someone posts a far-right adjacent meme like this, the Kekistani flag, which is a recolored Nazi Wehrmacht flag, also commonly wielded by neo-Nazi protesters. But here, it's just an edgy joke, you see. Or is it? If the response is negative, say if someone replies with, dude, what the fuck is this? Then, oh, it's just a joke, it's just a meme, lamau, don't take it seriously. But if the response is positive, like, heh, my fellow red-pilled Kekistani brother, whom the eco science elites couldn't brainwash, then often the meme is suddenly not a joke. Ha, I know, right? Oy vey. And it's not like the person who posted the Kekistani flag is pretending either way. This is the funny part. Such people legitimately don't know what their intent is with the meme they post. Is it just an edgy joke or is it serious? It depends on the meme's public reception. Of course, not all Warhammer memes are like that, but quite a few of them are. I can tell you a percentage here. So far, I could only determine that a non-trivial number of them exist and that such Schrodinger's shitposts are part of the far-right infiltration and co-opting of Warhammer 40k.
Is the far-right infiltration in the room with us right now?
Okay. Wait, point on the doll where the far right touched you.
Here's the thing. It's like you can't. He basically said you can't understand what you posted. I'm pretty sure the person who posted the meme understands the intent of what they were doing. Listen, not everyone who posts Warhammer memes is trying to be a alt-right fascist or something along those lines. Sometimes they're just posting memes. A lot of times I see this stuff, like I see memes like this, like the one where it's just like, how compelling, please face the wall now, or you're going to need more bolters for this heresy. It's because somebody posted a Xeno or Chaos meme or picture, and they post that in response because everyone's having a good yuck about it. The same people that post that will then go on later to post blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne as yet another post because it is a joke. Like 99% of these are just jokes.
You know what? No. Here's what I found funny. You notice what he said at the end there, right? He's very much aware that a lot of these are not real threats. Like they are just jokes. Like, hear it again. I'll play it again. Like, listen to this part again. It's very telling. Listen to this again.
Or is it serious? It depends on the meme's public reception. Of course, not all Warhammer memes are like that, but quite a few of them are.
He's aware. He said it. Not all Warhammer 40k memes are like that. Some of them are. See, he just said it. He just said it. He just said it. He is aware that some of these are not real red flags. They're not real dog whistles. They're not real announcements. They're just jokes. He knows it, but it doesn't suit his narrative. So he has to say, well, some of them are. I can't give you a percentage, but some of them are.
Yeah, to put like these on the same level as the Kekistani flag is ludicrous. And you do know why those people made the Kekistani flag look like the Nazi flag? It's not because all of them are alt-right Nazis. It's because they know it will trigger you.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, the whole idea of the Schrodinger's joke.
The Schrodinger shitpost thing.
I do the same thing with the Satire 40k. Because it's Games Workshop's Schrodinger Satire. It's only really satire anymore when we need to try and deflect political problems, like when you pointed out with the Spanish guy dressed like pretending to be Hitler as the Austrian painter, and that one thing. Then suddenly, it's satire, treat the Imperium bad, it's satire. But every other thing, when it's not lurking, look at Gilliman, isn't he so cool, the Ultramarines are awesome, Imperium's on the back, is coming back again, look, Lionel Johnson's back, Dark Angels are cool again, isn't this great?
Here's my question for you and for the audience. This is my question for you to really consider, really chew on this one for a minute. Which is worse, to be stupid or to be evil? Here's what I mean by that. Is it worse to be stupid or be evil? If this guy said that he genuinely believes all Warhammer memes are secretly red flags, secretly dog whistles, if he believed that all Warhammer memes were these Schrodinger shitposts, then I would just call him stupid. Because that's not what they are. But he just said he knows a lot of them aren't. He knows that not all of them are. He's aware of that, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's still going to cling to that. So he himself is playing the Schrodinger's cat fallacy by whenever we see one, hey, that's a red flag, that's a red flag. Or maybe it's not, I don't know. Maybe it's a red flag, I don't know. So in this case, he's evil. He is willfully dismissing the reality that many of these, if not all of these, are genuinely just jokes. He's aware of it, but he's not going to give it that courtesy. He's still going to say, I'm aware that not all of them are this way, but still, some of them are. I can't give you a percentage, but know that some of them are. That's not stupid. That's evil. So I leave that question with you, my lovely audience. Which is it worse to be, stupid or evil? I'll leave you to be the judge. All right, let's continue, unless you have more to say.
No, we can keep going.
Tell you a percentage here. So far, I could only determine that a non-trivial number of them exist and that such Schrodinger's shitposts are part of the far-right infiltration and co-opting of Warhammer 40k. It provides a nice little grey zone where you can keep dog whistling or posting what are essentially Nazi memes, only it's Warhammer 40k, so normies will think nothing of it. Far-right infiltration of 40k is such a recurring problem that Games Workshop had to issue multiple statements already stating that Warhammer is for everyone, it is not based on hate, it is satire, and that far-right people should fuck off from the hobby, basically.
Pause it. This is exactly what I was talking about.
This is
Schrodinger's satire. Because again, if you read the codex, if you read the Space Marine Codex, if you read the codexes for the Imperium factions, it's very clear it's not satire anymore. When it originally kicked off, yes, there was a lot of satire involved, but it's grown out of it. They only released this stuff because let me translate what this says.
We did a whole video on this.
Yeah. Let me translate what these community messages say. Let me translate them for you. Don't sue us. We're not Nazis. That was a different guy. It's not us. Imperium bad. Imperium bad. Don't sue us. Please do not associate us with that. That's literally all that says. That's literally all it says. Because literally every other day, when they're just talking about their lore, Space Marines are heroes, Gilliman's back, Imperium's doing good again. Now, granted, they're still going to have the Imperium do bad things, but they don't slam down the satire hammer every other day. Because one YouTuber, he did a very good job, because he responded to the same thing we did, and he pointed out, and he's like, okay, it's satire, is it? Well, here's the problem with that. When you look at the modern art, of 40k, when you look at like the box set right now at the time, which was the Leviathan box set, the Ultramarines versus the Tyranids, do you really get the vibe that these are fascist guys? A part of a part of a fascist regime trying to oppress people? No, you don't get that. That's clearly not the message Games Workshop is going through. So they're sending mixed messages right here because this is Schrodinger's satire. It's only satire when they need it to be.
Exactly. And for those who couldn't understand what we mean by that, it's basically this. They love Warhammer 40k and think it's the coolest shit ever until it's legally inconvenient. Then they've got to push the satire angle. Anyway. This is wearing us out, but we're close to done. We're close to done. And you still haven't even heard my favorite part.
What?
You still haven't gotten to my favorite part.
I need a gun. I'm starting to get an itch in the roof of my mouth that only a shotgun barrel can scratch.
All right. Pausing. Here we go.
So that's nice, but at the same time, Games Workshop is commissioning video games that neglect the satire in favor of a broader appeal, where the hero, who belongs to a literal superior race, selflessly protects his civilization from the marauding hordes of freaks and degenerates. And this is seen by far-right people who, in their own imaginations, are heroes who belong to a superior race, selflessly protecting their civilization from the marauding hordes of freaks and degenerates. And so they identify with Warhammer 40k. They are drawn to Warhammer 40k content. They co-opt the aesthetics of Warhammer 40k. No matter how many statements Games Workshop makes, no matter how much they insist on 40k being satire, as long as the ultra-popular games make the Imperium look cool and badass, righteous even, the far-right will inevitably stay in its orbit and try to co-opt it. This is what...
Okay, so I do want to point this out real quick. I do want to acknowledge this. What he just said, I think he may have a point. A lot of the right-wingers like this game because it is all about a superior race fighting off a bunch of inferior races or freaks or monsters. And we want to co-opt that. The right wing wants to co-opt that because we too want to fight for a superior race that will get rid of all the freaks and degenerates out there. And you know what? He's exactly right, because the race in the context of Warhammer 40k is humanity, and the freaks are aliens and chaos demons that want to kill us. So you know what? Humanity first.
Humanity first.
Humanity first.
But yeah, because it's not like they're like being racist against any a member of the human race. They're being racist against bugs that want to eat them. But another thing I want to point out, and this is going to surprise you, actually, but even though it shouldn't, because why did you like the game?
Yeah, that's a great question.
You claim to like the game because you had fun with it.
Yeah, the great question. I didn't even think about that, Lark. Why did he like the game?
Yes, because you was like, oh, it's just going to continue to be a rallying cry for the Nazis. Yes, Hitler is right around the corner, I swear. Here's the real reason why everyone likes Warhammer 40k. This is going to shock you. It's fun. It is actually fun. You want to know why most people like this game? Go watch Fleekazoid's video on it. Because it's so much fun to play around in this setting. We don't play around in this setting because we go, oh yeah, I want to be a Space Marine and be able to be and start oppressing the lesser races. We do it because, holy cow, this man wearing a truckload worth of armor just bisected a giant ant alien trying to eat him. That's cool. The setting is cool. The fights are cool. The art is cool. The minis are cool. We think it's cool. Now, do some of those people that think it's cool are going to be right-wing? Yes, but here's the thing. Here's your problem. Anytime a guy that's right-wing or left-wing finds something that he thinks is cool, if he is a political nutcase, he is going to try and co-opt it.
But I think that's the best point you could possibly raise to this guy, Lark. If the whole game is just a little psyop for the right-wingers, what did he like about it? What genuinely did he like? Because everything he's described, he seems to hate the game.
Well, basically, here's the thing. What do you want? Because if you had your way, we would have no Space Marine 2, we would have no video games, the tabletop would probably fall into irrelevance because you would have to read out a Games Workshop community post every single time a game begins. It's like, we all hereby acknowledge that the Imperium is fascist and fascism is bad, and we are only partaking in this not because we are fascist, but because we support the satire that shows fascism is bad. Now we will flagellate ourselves for having anything associating with fascism.
Before every tabletop game, if your faction is an Imperium of Man faction, you have to open with, before we start playing, I'm aware that I am playing the fascist faction, I am playing a Nazi faction, I do not support these, and to demonstrate my lack of support, allow me to spank myself. Thank you, sir, may I have another? Thank you, sir, may I have another? Thank you, sir, may I have another? Very well, I have now flagellated myself, I may continue. If I do win this game, I will have to flagellate myself even further for allowing the Nazis to win. Sounds like a great game.
Yeah, because honestly, I want you to draw the conclusion that I want you to go to the conclusion he's coming up with, because if he had his way, it's like you always have to portray them as bad. You always have to shove the satire down their throat so everyone chokes on it. No more books. No Eisenhorn books.
I want you to know that a lot of people are now quoting Fleekazoid now in the chat.
Outstanding. My people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Pit Marines.
My Pit Marines. Let's go.
But here's that's the thing. No books. No very little tabletop. No video games.
I'll tell you the real problem with Space Marine 2. I'll tell you the lack of the incredible budget cuts.
Indeed.
I do not see enough of my glorious anime titties.
Big titty Katie and GF. Here's another thing I want to point out. I want to point this out. Now that we're on that subject, there's a thing I want to point out earlier. He was talking about the cuckolding memes of how. Like how this is a right wing meme and everything. It's like, perhaps, but here's the other thing about it. It's a funny joke because the joke is there's a lot of guys that are looking at female Tau going. The one time humanity's like, maybe a little bit of interspecies exchange wouldn't be a bad idea. You get on
the very first joke he showed was a Necron and a human agreeing that the Tau looked hot.
I'm sorry, that joke was funny.
That was funny.
I'm on board with that. Not to mention, it also, like, there was actually a great, like, little a fan-made short story that Games Workshop actually said, hey, we kind of like this, of, like, an Evisor assassin refusing to kill a Eldar woman and actually falling in love with her and, like, helping her escape. Like, see, even in the grim darkness of the 41st millennia, there can be a little spark of hope here and there.
I still love the story of the Dark Angel delivering a baby. That was so cute.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's a grim dark setting, and we want it to be grim dark, but at the same time, there is a little bit of light that shines all the brighter because of that darkness here and there. And so, here's the thing. You see a dog whistle to the alt-right and to fascists. I see an incredibly fun setting with some grim darkness in there and a little bit of hope sprinkled in that keeps me coming back for more fun again and again. You see this in things in terms of only politics. I see things of I'm going to have fun. What is the big thing that most people that are typically called right-wing grifters complain about when it comes to media? They typically complain about politics being injected into the media. They want it out.
Yep.
He is complaining that there's not enough politics in this.
Yep. Is that what it takes now for a media to be right-wing? It doesn't have politics?
Yes, literally anything that does not have overt left-wing politics either has to be praising the left wing or it has to be demonizing the right. If it doesn't have those things, then it's suddenly a dog whistle to the alt-right.
Or it could just be fun.
They don't believe in fun. They don't believe in beauty. Remember that last guy we responded to? He talked about how beauty was bad.
Anyway. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, we got lost on that one. Here we go.
Why Warhammer 40k, in my opinion, is doomed to always have far-right hanger-ons, unless they take the lore into a different direction. And I'm not quite sure how to do that while also preserving the grimdark setting, which is one of the main appeals of the IP. I do have some ideas here though. I think what would help is getting more left-leaning people into the hobby. Also, Games Workshop could add more diversity to the Imperium just to make the Chuds angry. Female Space Marines? Hell yeah. Female Adeptus Custodes? Naturally. Adopt us Custodes. Also, add more skin colors. The ensuing outrage will basically be free advertising, and those who are put off by that, you don't want them in the hobby anyway. Do you have some more ideas? Feel free to share.
I'm gonna pause right there. There it is, my favorite part. He wants to bring in more left-leaning people into the hobby, and his way to do it is female Space Marines, bring in more left-leaning people, more skin colors of Space Marines. What? I love this because this absolute moron just revealed himself to be a tourist. He's probably never heard of the White Scars and how the vast majority of them are Mongolian, therefore Asian. Had no idea, and this is how I know he didn't play the game, because he would have known that there's a black Ultramarine and an Asian Ultramarine. He probably doesn't understand that the Salamanders are all dark-skinned. Probably missed all that.
Also, here's the thing that I'm like, you're an asshole.
Oh yeah.
No. Here's why. You're okay. You're okay with getting rid of the satire. You're just fine with it. Otherwise, why would you want women and minorities supporting the fascists?
Yep.
So you spent the entire video, Space Marines, fascists, brainwashed Nazis. Add women.
Yep.
That's what makes this better. Add women.
Add women and black people. If you do that, we can get rid of the satire now. Because that's what he wants to do. He doesn't care about the satire. See, that's the problem. He looks at Warhammer 40k. He looks at the Imperium of Man and sees white, male, patriarchy, but at least it's satire.
Yeah, here's the
But
problem.
we need to get rid of the satire by adding this and this and this and this and this and that.
So, here's the thing how he saw it. He looked at Warhammer 40k, saw some right-wingers like it, and say, I hate this thing now. I absolutely hate it. I need to turn it into my thing in order for it to be good, to make them upset. This isn't about a hobby to you. This isn't about a game to you. This isn't about fun to you. This is about getting a dunk on the right wing. You are lost in political sauce, and it's killing you. It is literally, like, you say the Space Marines are brainwashed, you're brainwashed. Because if it doesn't have your DEI woke nonsense in it to own the right, then it's suddenly fascist propaganda.
You know what I love about this right here? This little meme he showed over here? Games Workshop adds more diversity to Tabletop 40k. People who never played Tabletop 40k cries about it.
Well, it wasn't just...
But no, think about it. No, think about this. The joke here is that people who play the game know that there's diversity in 40K. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. People who don't play it assume there is no diversity. What is this guy advocating for? Diversity. He doesn't think there is. He doesn't think there is diversity in 40K. He is this guy. He is this guy, but the meme is the opposite. Games Workshop doesn't add diversity that he wants, cries about it. Guy who doesn't play 40K. This guy is him. This guy talking right now is him. He has no idea that there is diversity in 40K. He doesn't realize it. He's too mind-fucking stupid. I would insult him, but I'm worried that I can't do as good a job as Nature already had. I'm not saying that I hate him, but I might unplug his life support to plug in my phone. You have many things in common with a slinky. You're ultimately useless, but I will laugh when I see you fall down a flight of stairs. And other insults that I think are too intellectual for you to even comprehend. This person baffles the mind. Like you said, Lark, he doesn't actually care about the satire. This whole video is him just trying to pull the satire bullshit of, look at satire, it's satire, it's satire, it's satire, it's satire, it's satire, it's satire. He literally spent 6 minutes on Starship Troopers for no reason. You spent minutes on Starship Troopers for absolutely no reason, then spent the rest of the time bitching about how Space Marines are actually Nazis. Now you want women Space Marines and black Space Marines, so you don't mind women and black people being Nazis. Or is the argument, and I would love it if it is the argument that they are Nazis until you add these things, implying that only white men can be Nazis. If a group has only white men in it, Nazi. Once you add a few black people and women to it, now the Nazism is gone. You can't. That women and black people can't be Nazis. Is that actually the argument?
I'm gonna be real. I don't think he's thought that through with that. Because the thing is, because they always do this. They always say it's like this is bad, this is evil, this is fascist. The right wing likes it. We should add diversity to it. It's not diverse enough. Why do they always want to jump in and add diversity to something that they instinctively hate?
See, that's what it comes down to. I honestly don't think he likes the game. I honestly don't. But let's wrap it up. We're done. Let's do this.
Share them in the comments. Normally I don't read them, but this time I'm genuinely interested and we'll go over them at least once.
Please do.
I love this. I love this. Normally I don't read the comments, but this time I will. Sir, I hope you did read the comments. I hope you did read the comments. Let's take a look at that like to dislike ratio. 26,000 likes, 14,000 dislikes.
A third did not like that.
Let's see. The video is only 3 days old and there's already a parody of it. As a long-time 40K fan since the mid-1990s, I can summarize the setting in one sentence. Everyone is an asshole, but some are even bigger assholes. Okay, Adam, geez, you didn't have to make a 22-minute video just to tell people you don't want to join our Warhammer group. Bold choice to show the logo of Dawn of War 3 and saying popular AAA game title. That's funny.
Yeah.
The bug attack is a false flag theory about Starship Troopers is not true. The director himself has shot it down. There's audio out there that's easy to find of it. What do you mean to adopt... What do you mean to adopt more skin colors? There are literally Space Marines with every skin color. The problem with Warhammer 40K is that my Necron... Oh, this is just a shitpost. Warhammer 40K Road Trader RPG is actually very good at depicting... Oh, this is another shitpost. This dude's going to see Helldivers 2 and have a stroke. So how does a train solve it? You forgot that part of the video. Look at him. He's a fascist. How can you tell? Look at his drip. It's immaculate. Firstly, loyalist Space Marines aren't generally used to put down simple human rebellions caused due to discontent with the system. That's usually my local law enforcement or PDF Imperial Guard on the Imperium, or maybe even the Sisters of Battle and Inquisition if it gets bad enough and chaos is obviously involved. Space Marines are too rare and viable to deal with human rebellion. They're used to fight mostly against dangerous aliens and the Chaos Space Marines because those are threats that require their attention due to their danger they represent. Each Space Marine chapter is a different culture that places different values on human life. Ultramarine Salamanders and Space Wolves tend to care for normal humans, whilst others, like the Marines and Malevolent, don't care about civilian casualties at all. Secondly, Space Marine 2 has plenty of instances that demonstrate the grim darkness of human society. You see Imperial Guards being executed, overworked humans on spaceships, servitors, etc. It does not paint a perfect, pretty picture of the Imperium. Yes, Inquisitor, that guy.
See, the joke. Oh, no, but it's Schrodinger's joke, right?
Calling custodians irrelevant is direct heresy. You should see an Inquisitor very soon. I'm convinced this guy has not seen Starship Troopers. I feel like Adam would not approve of my playthrough of Fallout where I pickpocket kids and put activated dynamite in their inventory.
See what I said?
At the end of the day, he doesn't say nothing about Sisters of Silence and Sisters of Battle.
Yeah, because that contradicts the narrative.
Include more race. Now I know you haven't touched Space Marine 2 Beyond tutorial because if you played, you should know. And one of your sidekicks is, well, Black. Most people like to play nice. Have you played any other PvP games? Hell, GTA even. There are just a few counterpoints to what you appear to be a picking and choosing. I get the message you're trying to convey here, but the video feels like it's rushed and poorly thought out. I think that you should have cooked it a little more. Adam went swinging on the 40k topic, literally blind. Add more skin colors? My brother, you're the one choosing the skin color when you paint the mini. Now people who have never been fans of Warhammer 40k and never cared about want to tell longtime fans how they should interpret and appreciate the franchise. Adam, add more skin colors. Ultramarines recruited from all over incredibly diverse sectors of 500 worlds. Salamanders all going jet black skin, regardless of heritage or race. Tyranids are insert ethnic group. My question is, how this video has 20,000 upvotes when nearly all the comments are shitting on his misunderstanding of the setting? The video basically boils down to fun stuff is bad if far-right people like it.
Yes, that sums it up perfectly.
Wait, why is this angry train man talking about Warhammer now? 92% of players in Mass Effect plays Paragon. In Stellaris, on the other hand, 99% will purge the filthy Xenos in the name of the computer performance.
He gets it.
Ooh, this is a checkmark person. This future biomass of the Hive ship seems to have a lot of words to say.
Let's see what Hive Mind goes, is confused. Wait a minute. He's trying to say Space Marine 2 is bad. Is he a gene stealer?
Oh, that's great.
Are you stealing genes, Adam? Let me see.
What? Just
no, that was great. It's like you need more. Add more
my brother and the Emperor. You painted the Kislev flesh.
Yep, that's on you.
Oh boy, I sure hope no one tells Adam about the Postal Game series.
I don't know about the Postal.
My brother in Christ, stick to the mega structure videos. This is just bad takes on your end. Yeah, so I love how he just said he will actually read the comments this time. Please do. This is probably the biggest L you could have asked for, you absolute lunatic. All right.
Whew.
Oh.
That was
something.
Special.
That was something. Oh, that was piss. That was actual piss. That was one of the worst takes I think I've ever listened to. So before we sign off, we will not be doing a gaming stream tonight. I'm whooped. Lark, anything you want to say?
I think I just want to say, guys, I love Warhammer 40k. It is probably my favorite, fictional universe to delve into. No, I wouldn't want to live in it before anyone gets any crazy ideas or tries to paint me like as some sort of Nazi that actually glorifies the Imperium. I like the Imperium as a faction. I disagree heavily with it, and there's no way I would run or want to be a part of that kind of government, but that's not the point of 40k. The point of 40k is to have fun in a setting, to have fun wargaming, to have fun creating lore with homebrew stuff, to have fun with your buddies. That's what it's all about. Are there going to be some right-wing morons that try and joke around, that try and co-opt it for their own ends? Sure, but they're going to do it with literally anything they find fun. But here's the thing. Left-wing people are going to try and do that too. Leave my hobbies alone. I want to have fun. When I was painting my Dark Angels, I was not contemplating the ramifications of fascist dog whistles. I was thinking, man, I hope this comes out good, and oh crap, I have to paint over that again. Warhammer is about fun, it's about enjoying a setting, and dare I say, it's about having some fun with friends. It's not about fascist dog whistles. And just because a right-wing person likes something doesn't mean that thing has to be ruined now for everyone else, or has to have a diversity or DEI injected into it artificially to make it now more appropriate.
Well, I'll say this. I was told to watch this video and respond to it. After watching the video and responding to it, I can say two things. Number one, this person knows nothing about Warhammer 40k, and people throw this word around a lot that you're a tourist to the hobby. I always take that with a grain of salt. It's usually just an insult to people who say something that you disagree with, but in this case, no, he is definitely a tourist. He knows next to nothing about the setting, knows next to nothing about the lore, and is, quite frankly, deserving of the criticism he's getting. Number two, I love Warhammer 40k. I think it's a fantastic setting and hobby to get engrossed in. If you haven't gotten engrossed into it, it is something worth enjoying. I really do find it fun. I love the Imperium of Man, warts and all. It's not a setting that either of us would want to live in. We recognize the problems with it. We recognize the issues. But the fact is, like you said, Lark, Warhammer is a hobby to enjoy and have fun with. It's meant to be a good time. It's meant to be something you have a great time with buddies. That's what it's meant to be. Read the books. I just got a new Warhammer 40k book. I want to read it. I want to read it real bad right now. It's not something to take this seriously. This guy looked at Starship Troopers and took it seriously, and now wants us all to take it seriously. This guy looked at Warhammer and took it seriously, and now wants us all to take it seriously. Maybe I watch Warhammer and enjoy Warhammer because I like the few moments in it where in such a dark, awful, terrifying setting, we see a little bit of hope. We see a little bit of humanity doing its best. I said it in my first Warhammer video, and I'll say it again here. One of the beautiful things about Warhammer 40k is this. When mankind is at its darkest moment, when he is broken, beaten, left to die, when all of the galaxy is against him, when his back is to the wall, when the very gods themselves are looking at him with hunger, and when everything around him seeks to devour him, what can a man do? Sure, he can surrender and capitulate. Sure, he can cry and mope and moan. Or he can stand and fight. Even when the odds are against him. Even when it seems like there's no hope. Even when it seems like he'll die in the attempt. He can still fight. And that's why I love Warhammer 40k. Because it tells a story of what a man does when faced with that kind of devastation. I used to ask Lark when I was still new to the hobby, what's good about the Imperium of Man? Because they don't have any special powers. They don't have any special abilities. There are a lot. These aliens are portrayed sometimes as the good guys in comparison. What can mankind do? And Lark, you said it best. Their will to survive and to fight is what has allowed them to not only fight the threats, but win against the threats. And that is inspiring to me. Why do I love the Dark Angels so much? It's not because they're the most wholesome, like the Salamanders, or because they're the most aesthetically cool, like the White Scars or the Space Wolves.
I don't know.
I mean, they've got great drip, but I'm talking about like aesthetically in terms of culture. What I mean is, I love them because they epitomize this idea of standing up to the worst threats imaginable and coming out the other side stoic and austere. That's what I love about them. And I'm sure people like different factions for their own reasons. People love Chaos or the Tyranids or the Orcs or whatever because they have their reasons. Pancreas No Works is a huge elf lover, so he loves the Eldar. There are people who love the Orcs just because they're funny. There are people who love Chaos because they don't like the hypocrisy of the Imperium of Man and like the honest evilness of Chaos. That's why a lot of people like the Dark Lords, or Night Lords, the Night Lords, because the Night Lords are they're unapologetically evil. They're not trying to lie, they just like torturing. And they like that. And you can get behind that. That's fine, get behind that. That's cool. Everyone has the reason for liking who they do. But you know what no one joined the hobby for? You know what? I secretly want to show I'm a Nazi, but not say it out loud. No one has done that. And anyone who has done something similar to that was targeting you, sir, to get a rise out of you. They didn't join the hobby because they liked it. They joined the hobby because they knew they could get under your skin.
Or rather, they were already a part of the hobby and said, hey, I can use my political beliefs to irritate people. Kind of like how you want to inject DEI into things so you can irritate the other side.
I love the Dark Angels because they're straight up the most evil loyalist legion. They are not.
If anything, I would argue that.
I would argue the Iron Hands. Yeah. The Iron Hands are the most evil, honestly. But anyway, before we get into a whole debate about why the Dark Angels are the best, and they are, let's go ahead and hop off here. All right, guys. We'll see you in our next video. Tomorrow is Thursday? So the new season starts tomorrow, so I'll probably stream For Honor tomorrow, and I'll do some kind of video, I'm sure. Maybe I'll read the lore for the new hero skin. We'll see. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in my next video. Take care.
Have a great one, guys.